Hola, hola a todos, bienvenidos, welcome, welcome. Perdón por el retraso, pero tuvimos algunos problemas, pero ya está con nosotros, pues, nuestro entrevistado. Today we have Mr. Lance Burton, Master Magician. So, give a hand. Gracias, Lance. Hola,
Hola,
Lance.
hola, amigos.
Hello.
How, that's all I know.
Hola, amigos. Yes, you can say Club de Magos hace.
Oh, say what?
Club de Magos, the Magic Club.
Club, Club de Magos. Yeah, Mago. That's magic.
Magician. Mago is magician.
Mago, magician.
Mago.
Yes.
So, welcome, welcome. Bienvenidos. Bueno, pues les quiero comentar a todos los que nos están viendo que tenemos unos invitados de diferentes partes de la República. Mientras nos tratábamos de conectar, ya le dijimos a Lance cómo va a estar la situación. Entonces, well, Lance, we're going to start with some questions for you, ¿ok?
Sure.
Entonces, para comenzar las preguntas, pues está un amigo de todos nosotros que es vendedor de magia. So, for start, there's a friend of all of us. He's a close-up magician and a magic dealer. He's Adrian Fox. Él es Adrian Fox. Entonces, él te tiene una pregunta para ti. Si Adrián nos ayudas, por favor, conectando tu cámara, tu micrófono. Si estás por ahí, Adrián. Ay, ya se salió Adrián. Ah, no, ya está.
Okay, I'm here. Dear Lance, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Thanks for sharing time with us. It's a very pleasure see you. The first question is, how do you structure and develop the dove routine? Since you think it and since you win the fishing prize.
La pregunta es ¿cuál fue el proceso para crear su rutina de palomas desde que la creó hasta que decidió competir?
Yeah. The Dove Act. That was the act I started when I was very young. The first magician that I ever saw when I was a kid. From my home state, my hometown of Louisville, Kentucky, was named Harry Collins, and he did dove magic. So I got that in my head very early on, that the magician, makes the birds appear. And so I started working on dove magic when I was 14 years old, and I just wow. Loved it. And I spent every spare moment in the basement of our house practicing my act. And I loved dove magic, and I love card manipulations, and eventually when I got older, I got to meet Channing Pollock and became very good friends with him. Channing kind of started that whole card and dove act, but yeah, that was my passion when I was younger, and that was my first act, and that got me my first television appearance and my first job in Las Vegas. So that's always very sentimental in my heart. I love the dove magic.
Yeah, I know, and you show every time that you perform that routine.
Yes. In my professional career, I did between 15 and 16,000 shows. So I always started with the Dove act. And I'm not doing it anymore now. I haven't done it in 10 years since I've been retired. That's not an act that you can just pick up and start doing. And I still have the birds. They're still here with me, but the doves are very old now.
Okay.
They're too old to work. They're retired, like me.
Okay. We hope can see again one time.
Oh, thank you. I have been traveling around a little bit the last couple of years doing a show called Lance Burton and Friends. And I do some illusions, and I do some sleight of hand magic, and I do audience participation. And I bring some of my buddies with me, and it's a lot of magic and a lot of comedy. And until the coronavirus hit, we were doing quite a few shows this year. We had done 5 shows in the first couple of months. In fact, we just got back from Blackpool, England, in February.
Wow.
Where we did 2 shows at the convention there, and then the quarantine started. So obviously we haven't been doing anything. But as soon as it's lifted, we'll get back out and do some more.
Okay, we hope see in Blackpool.
Thank you.
That's will great. Thank you
very much. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Nice to meet you too.
Now, do we have a...
Adelante, Javi, no los escuchamos.
Creo que se nos olvidó traducir, entonces vamos a traducir un poquito de todo lo que dijo. Entonces él dice que está retirado, que su acto de palomas ya no lo hace porque pues se ha retirado, no es un acto que sea fácil de llevar de un momento a otro, que él estuvo haciendo, ¿qué dijo Fox? Que estuvo haciendo un show en París o en Europa.
En Blackpool.
En Blackpool.
Blackpool.
En Blackpool.
Exactamente. Y que tiene un poco de comedia, un poco de magia, y que probablemente, si entendí bien, creo que ahorita no lo puede hacer por parte de la cuarentena,
Sí.
pero no te dije si lo tenía planeado o era posterior.
Sí, que lo va a ver qué va a pasar con ese show terminando la cuarentena. ¿Sale? Creo que, Lance, we're gonna give a little time for translate. And you talk, translate,
sure.
yeah? It's gonna be easier for us, yes?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. So, vamos a continuar con otro mago. Well, this club was founded in 1992 by my grandpa and Mago Frank. Mago Frank is here. Este club se fundó en el 92 por mi abuelo y por el Mago Frank, y el Mago Frank está aquí. Mago Frank wants to ask you a question too. So, Mago Frank, viene el Mago
Sure.
Frank, por favor. ¿Nos ayudas prendiendo tu micro, Frank, por favor? Gracias. Ok. ¿El micrófono, Frank?
Ahí está ya.
Ok.
Once here in Mexico, we had a really great magician. He passed away 1 year ago, and I think you met him. He's Chen Kai.
Oh, yes.
Chen
Yes.
Kai passed away last year in May, and he was a master of doves, as you are. And I want to know if you knew him and if you learned something from him.
Yes,
Nos está
I
preguntando,
met...
sorry.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
sorry. Nos está preguntando que en México hubo un mago muy famoso que era Chen Kai, que si aprendió algo Lance de Chen Kai. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yes. I met Chen Kai in 1980.
Ok, conoció
40
a Chen
years
Kai
ago.
en 1980.
And we first met at the Joe Stevens convention, magic convention in Wichita, Kansas. And I think that was my first time performing at a magician's convention as a paid act. Up until then, I would enter a contest or something. But it was 1980, and I met Chen Kai at that convention, and I met Johnny Thompson at that convention. So I was 20 years old, and Chen Kai was very kind to me. And we talked and became friends, and we talked about dove magic. And he was a very, very nice man and very knowledgeable about dove magic. And I believe he had a whole section in one of the Encyclopedia of Dove Magics by Ian Adair. And so I knew who he was when I met him. I don't think he was performing at the convention. I think he was just attending the convention. But he was a very nice man, very knowledgeable. He was very kind to me, and we've remained friends all those years for the next 39 years. So it was a real shock, and I was very sad, when I heard he passed away. And but he was a great magician, and I never got to see him work live, but of course I saw him on film, on video many times. But he was a great magician, and I know you guys are all very proud of him and his career, and rightfully so.
We are. Thank you very much.
Thank
Ok,
you.
gracias. Pues en resumidas cuentas nos dijo que conoció a Chen Kai en 1980 en una convención de magia donde también conoció a Johnny Thompson. Era una convención de Joe Stevens y que bueno, que básicamente él sabe que Chen Kai ha escrito en la enciclopedia de las palomas. Se refiere a Chen Kai que cuando lo conoció era un hombre muy amable. Y Lance tenía 20 años cuando conoció a Chen Kai. Fue la primera vez que trabajó en una convención como artista pagado. Y bueno, pues sí, Chen Kai. ¿Se respondió tu pregunta, Frank? Okay. Okay, thank you very much for sharing with us that, Lance. So now, from the north of Mexican Republic, we have from Monterrey, Jorge Betancourt. Tenemos del norte de la República Jorge Betancourt. Si se puede conectar con nosotros, Jorge. He also does a magic convention there at Monterrey. It's a very nice convention. You should come. It's very nice. Entonces, si está Jorge Betancourt por ahí. Jorge. No se escucha. ¿Se escucha? No. Okay. I will ask you maybe that question. The question is, la pregunta es, ¿qué hacía cuando se equivocaba durante las sesiones de práctica con los nuevos efectos o rutinas? The question is, what did you do when you were wrong during the practice sessions or practicing new effects or routines?
Oh, you want me to talk a little bit about practice and rehearsal?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was a kid, when I was a teenager, for instance, when I was getting ready to enter a contest or have a show, or I had a performance coming up, I would set up my act, and I would, get all the birds and load everything up, and I would perform the act in its entirety. And I had little rehearsal space down in the basement when I was a kid. And back then we didn't have video cameras, of course. This was before camcorders were around, or iPhones. So what I did was I took mirrors, and I would set a mirror up right in front of me, and then I'd set another one up over to the right, and then another one to the left, and I would run the act, and I would run the act maybe 2 or 3 times a day if I had a show coming up to get myself in shape. And I could look at the mirror as I'm doing my act. So you have to rehearse, and you have to put the time in and work. But what I found out was, when I got my first kind of professional job back in about 1979, Matt King and I got a job in an amusement park there in Kentucky. It was a little small theme park, and we were doing 3 shows a day, 7 days a week, all summer long. So that's 21 shows a week. And that's when I really started to make progress with my act, because now I'm performing the act 3 times a day, and there's a new audience sitting there every day, 3 new audiences. And that's when I really made progress. So yes, you have to practice, you have to work on your act, but the most important thing is to perform it in front of an audience. And then that way you listen to the audience, and if your act's working, and if it's not, you have to try something new.
Thanks very much. I will translate. Pues básicamente nos dice que cuando él empezó a hacer magia no había cámaras de video, entonces lo que hacía era ponerse un espejo enfrente, otro a los lados, y poder ver diferentes ángulos. Eso es lo que recomienda para practicar. En 1979 fue invitado a un parque en Kentucky junto con Matt King, y ahí se presentaba 3 veces al día. Entonces realmente fue cuando su rutina pues se mejoró, porque la presentaba 3 veces al día con diferente público, y pues lo que más recomienda es presentar su rutina una y otra vez. Okay, thank you very much. So next question we have from Querétaro. We have a magician called Keith, el hombre magia, or Mago Gamini, because he's Mago Gamini for kids and Keith for adult shows. Entonces, si está ahí Mago Gamini y Keith, si nos quieres compartir la pregunta, por favor.
Hello, I'm Pablo. Lance, it's a pleasure to be able to talk with you. And my question is, what happened in your career to be invited to work in Las Vegas? What's the trigger to work in Las Vegas?
¿Cuál fue el detonante para llegar a Las Vegas?
Yes, this is a very common question that magicians would like to know. Here's how I wound up in Vegas. It was a complete, accident, really. It was it was a whole series of events. I entered a contest from the International Brotherhood of Magicians, gold medal contest in 1980, and I won the first place, won the gold medal. And then the next year, 1981, they invited me to perform at the convention again, and I did. And then it was that year, Bill Larson saw me. Bill Larson, him and his brother started the Magic Castle in Hollywood. And he invited me out to Los Angeles and hired me to perform at his show that he produces there every year called It's Magic. And so I went out west to do the It's Magic show. It was for 2 weeks. And I was the act that got picked to go on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, which was the #1 late night talk show at the time. So that was my first time on national television. And it was that appearance on Johnny Carson that the people in Las Vegas saw, and they called, and I got my first job in Las Vegas. So it was a series of one thing leading to another. So it was a magic contest, then a magic convention, then the It's Magic show in Los Angeles, then the Tonight Show, and then Las Vegas.
Wow. But thank you very much, and I had the pleasure to see you show in Las Vegas, and it was a great honor. Thank you.
Bless you. Thank you very much. Gracias. Uh-oh, did we lose audio?
Avi, no se escucha.
Ah, gracias. Nos vamos a traducir un poquito, perdón. Dice que fue una casualidad más que nada porque primero ganó la medalla de la IBM, después lo llevó los hermanos Larsen al Castillo de la Magia a presentar en el show It's Magic, y de ahí se presentó en el show de Johnny Carson. On Johnny Carson show, you got more minutes than any act. You got 12 minutes, yeah?
12 minutes. Yes.
Sí,
and that was because Johnny Carson personally said, let the kid do the whole act. Because originally they weren't going to let me do the whole act. They just said, do the whole act in rehearsal. And then we'll figure out what part we're going to use for the broadcast. Well, Johnny was watching the rehearsal, unbeknownst to me. And then so apparently after the rehearsal, I got to meet him for the first time, and I was thrilled. But then the talent coordinator came over a few minutes later and he said, Lance, Johnny was watching the rehearsal. And Johnny said, let the kid do the whole 12 minutes.
Nice, what an honor. So, entonces, normalmente le daban 5 minutos a los artistas, poco tiempo, y en el ensayo vieron el acto de 12 minutos y Johnny dijo, wow, vamos a dejar que el chico haga su acto completo. Y bueno, de ahí saltó a la fama y llegó a Las Vegas, porque lo vieron en ese programa que fue muy famoso y por un accidente. So now we are going to introduce my father. My father, it's Mago Oscar. He's one of the coordinators of Club de Magos. He's the vice president, es el vicepresidente del Club de Magos. So he wants to ask. Ahí está.
Para crear tus rutinas desde la granja, desde que te vas a la época barroca. ¿De dónde surge esa inspiración? ¿En qué te basas?
Okay, he's asking where does the inspirations came to create your theme routines, like the farm or the baroque, the swords, to make a theme act.
Yeah, that's a difficult question to answer because every one of the numbers was inspired in a different way. As we were talking before the broadcast started, the costume here over my shoulder, this was from Harry Blackstone Jr. It was a costume that he used. He did a transposition, and I saw that when I was a teenager, and so that inspired the my sword fight. The methods were different, but the effects were very similar. And the way this trick, the way the sword fight trick came about, it was my friend Max Maven. When I moved out to Los Angeles, I got an apartment there just as before I came to Las Vegas. I had an apartment, and in the same building was Max Maven, and we became very good friends. And one day, Max said to me, "Lance, you should do the card sword." And I said, "Card sword? I don't want to do the card sword. That doesn't seem like a good idea to me." And he says, "No, just think about it. With a sword, you could have all these fencing poses and the movement on stage. You could really make something out of that." And I started thinking about it, and I went, "Yeah, that might be okay." And he said, "And also, don't do it like they show it in the Magic catalog. Don't stab 3 cards, because 3 cards isn't believable. That's obviously a trick. But if you just do 1 card, people will think that you actually did it." And I started thinking, going, "Yeah, that's probably right too." So I started thinking about the card sword and about the movements with the swords. And then I thought of, okay, fencing. What else goes with sword? Fencing, fencing mask. And then as soon as I had the idea fencing mask, I went, fencing mask. Wait a minute. Now we're talking. Here's an opportunity for me to do something like Harry Blackstone Jr. that I saw do, with the transposition. So that and the card sword sort of inspired that. And it took a good 2 or 3 years of really hard work to come up with that, and make it all work. So that was a lot of it wasn't quick. This was like the second or third version of the trick. But anyway, that's the story of that one. And every routine I did has some sort of similar story, but sometimes trick is inspired by, a line you read in a book, or something you see in a movie, or it could be inspired by anything. But what I always say is, just keep your eyes open all the time, because you never know when inspiration's going to hit you.
Wow, what beautiful. Bueno, él nos dice que, por ejemplo, el acto de la espada, de la pelea de espadas, lo platicó con su amigo Max Maven en Los Ángeles, que le dijo, ¿por qué no haces el truco donde se atrapan las 3 cartas en la espada? Y Lance dijo como que no, que ese efecto estaba ya muy visto. Y después Max le dijo, bueno, atrapa 1 en vez de 3, porque eso va a ser más creíble para el público. Y dijo, bueno, eso me parece mejor, pero después se puso a pensar en todas las poses y en todo lo que conlleva tener una espada. Y recordó que Harry Blackstone, dijo, ¿sí? Harry Blackstone era el que tiene atrás, el vestuario que tiene atrás es también para una transposición que él hacía, y entonces se inspiró para hacer su pelea de espadas. Pero básicamente cada acto tiene una inspiración a partir de todo lo que ve, de una película, de un libro. Ese efecto le tardó 2 o 3 años en hacerlo, y nos dijo una frase al final muy bonita, que es: mantén los ojos abiertos porque no sabes de dónde puede venir siempre la inspiración.
Muchas gracias, en verdad es un honor tenerte aquí, y ojalá algún día nos visites en México. Será un honor y un placer.
He says that it's a honor and thanks for being here, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
So
the pleasure's mine.
Thank you. So we have another question. So when you have all your acts, how you decide what act you're gonna put in one special, and how you decide the order, because you've got like different special TVs.
Yeah, for a live show or a television special, a live show. First of all, a live show is much harder than a television special. and they're different. They're two completely different things. So the main lesson, I think, for putting together a good live show is that you have a variety of different types of magic and different tempos. For instance, you want to, normally with an illusionist show, you do a routine in one, which is in front of the curtain. So the magician's out here in front of the curtain, and while he's doing that, they're setting up an illusion behind the curtain. So you do your in one trick, then the curtain opens, and now you do a big illusion. And at the end of that, the curtain closes, and now you're back out in front. You do another in one. So you're going from the kind of the small magic to bigger magic, small, big. And you also want to vary the type of magic you're doing as far as the mood. So you might do a serious routine and then follow that up with a comedy routine, and then another serious routine, and then an audience participation routine. So you want to vary, and you want to vary also maybe the music. You know, you want a routine with music, fast pace, up tempo, and then you follow that with a talking piece, and then maybe music that's slower and more moody. But in other words, the main thing is you want to give the audience all the different colors, all the different shades, black, white, gray, everything in between. If you're a singer, you don't want to come out and sing every song the same. You don't want to do a whole evening of just ballads. You know, you want to vary the type of music you sing. So same thing with a magician.
Ok, thank you very much. La pregunta fue cómo decidía el orden de sus actos, y dice que, bueno, que hacer un show en vivo es muchísimo más difícil que uno en TV porque le tienes que dar variedad al público. Entonces siempre tiene una rutina donde va de lo pequeño a lo más grande. Y de repente dice, vamos a hacer una rutina cómica, después una rutina con participación del público, después una con música muy alegre, y después los vamos a llevar a un mood con música más tranquilita. Y nos habla que si somos cantantes, pues no vamos a cantar todo nuestro repertorio, tenemos que saber cómo llevarlos a diferentes emociones y a diferentes colores, llevarlo de todos los colores, incluso hasta el blanco, el negro y el gris al público. So thank you very much. So next we have JC, Juan Carlos Rodarte.
Hello, Lance. How are you? It's an honor.
Hey, how are you? Nice to meet you.
I'm good. Nice to meet you too. Well, my question goes about the complexity of working your massive show in Monte Carlo. How did, or can you walk us through how many people, how your team worked? I mean, all your staff, backstage, your dancers, even the administration. I mean, how about the complexity of the show, of handling so many people that makes it happen?
Yeah, it is very complex. The show at the Monte Carlo, we had about 30 people involved in the show. I had 7 or 8 girls in the show, my assistants, and they did dance numbers. And each girl had an illusion that she was featured in. And then I had 2 male assistants, which appeared on stage with me. And then we had, of course, the stage hands, my stage manager, and flyman, and electrician, and the guys running the lights and the sound. So in total, there was about 30 of us. Wow. And now, to put that in perspective, that was a very small cast and crew compared to other shows. So, for instance, if you ever came to Vegas and you go to the Bellagio Hotel to see the O show, that's a huge show. We had 30 people in my show total, on stage and backstage. We had 2 ladies in the wardrobe department to take care of the costumes. In O, they had 35 people working in the wardrobe department.
That's impressive.
Now that's an expensive show to run. So I always tried to make my shows tight and economical, because in the end, that's what's going to count is your show, running at a profit. And we always made a profit. We never lost money. We always made a profit for the hotel. So that's one of the keys to my success, I think, is that I kept everything nice and tight. I didn't have any fat in the show. It was all, we were a lean, mean magic machine.
Nice, thank you very much.
¿Quieres traducir eso mismo, Rodarte?
Y bueno, básicamente nos dice que su show en Las Vegas, en Monte Carlo, lo corrían entre 30 personas. Tenía 7 bailarinas, cada una va en una ilusión diferente, y 2 asistentes hombres que también contribuían ahí en escena. Tenía 2 personas que se hacían cargo de todo lo que era el vestuario y todo este tipo de cosas, más aparte, bueno, pues la gente ya de producción, de iluminación, tramoyas, toda la gente que ya en total constituyen un equipo de 30 personas, y que para él es un equipo pequeño, y dice que realmente si vemos un show como O en el Bellagio, simplemente tenían 35 personas encargadas del guardarropa, solo en ese show. Es un show monstruoso, ¿no? Entonces, que su show de alguna forma lo tratará de mantener con la menos gente posible para tratarlo de hacer siempre entregar una utilidad al hotel, y bueno, evidentemente para ellos esas personas perdieron dinero produciendo el espectáculo. Listo, pues gracias, nos estamos viendo.
So thank you. So now from also Mexico City, we have 2 brothers. They are Joe and Moy.
Again, Lance, hi.
Hello again.
Hola.
Hola. Hola, amigo. Lance, how often did you change the tricks on your show?
Yes. I didn't do the same rundown every night in my show because I had a couple of spots in the show where I had multiple tricks that I could choose from. So, for instance, a lot of times when we were doing 2 shows a night, on the early show, I would do my backstage illusion. And on the late show, in that same spot, I would do the TP illusion. Because they both worked good in that spot, but I wanted to keep both of them, in my repertoire. And I had, in the second half of the show, I had an audience participation spot, and I had like 4 or 5 different tricks that I could choose from. And I would call those tricks as the show was running. So my assistants, they were ready to do, any one of the 4 or 5 tricks. And I would choose which trick I wanted to do based upon the audience. Because some nights you get out there, in the audience, you've got a lot of, maybe the magic's getting a good reaction and the comedy's not getting the reaction, or maybe they're laughing a lot, but they're not applauding as much for the magic. So, every audience is a little different. So I always like to have room to improvise during the show. And then in the long run, I was always, anytime I was working on a new trick, we would put it in the show and try it out. So I had many, many different tricks that came in and then went away and maybe came back. And so, it was, you never knew exactly what rundown you were going to see, because a lot of it was just my gut instinct when I got out there.
Wow. That's amazing. And talking about Vegas,
No, antes, chicos, ¿nos ayudan a traducir un poquito rápido todo eso?
Ok, le pregunté qué tan seguido cambiaba los actos, los trucos en su show, y dice que los cambiaba. Tenía un show muy estructurado, pero que tenía una parte donde podía escoger entre 5 trucos, una o 2 partes del show donde podía escoger entre 5 trucos, y conforme iba avanzando el show, él tomaba la decisión acerca de cuál iba a hacer. Entonces lo iba haciendo de acuerdo a cómo él sentía al público, porque todos los públicos son diferentes, y de acuerdo a lo que él sintiera, todo su staff tenía que estar listo para saber qué truco era el que él iba a hacer en ese momento.
Hey Lance, this is Moy from Mexico City.
Hey.
Talking about Vegas, Can you tell us how is a contract handled in Vegas? Is it through the hotel or a management?
Well, that could be anything. And I don't know what they're doing now. I've been out of the loop for 10 years. So
Okay.
I have no idea. But yeah, any sort of a deal that you can imagine, I'm sure somebody has done. I think the days of back in the 80s, you know, a show or a headliner would come in and the casino would just pay them. You know, they would give them the money that they wanted, and they just write them a check, and then the casino or the hotel was taking the risk on the ticket sales. Now there are some acts that came in town, like for instance Frank Sinatra. He would come into town, and they paid him a lot of money. Now they may have lost money on Frank Sinatra in the showroom. I mean, he always sold out, but they may have been paying him far more than what they were bringing in with the ticket sales. But the casinos didn't care because Frank Sinatra drew a gambling crowd. So if they paid him, you know, $100,000 a week, and they only brought in $50,000 worth of tickets, they didn't care because they knew they were going to make an extra $5 million that week in the casino. Because his people gambled, and so they always made money with Frank Sinatra. But there are very few. I don't think there are any acts that they do that now.
Okay, thank you for the answer. Lo voy a traducir un poquito. La pregunta fue que cómo se maneja un contrato en Las Vegas, y la respuesta es que cuando él estaba es totalmente diferente a como hoy en día se maneja. Que por ejemplo cuando estaba Frank Sinatra, llegaba Frank Sinatra y le pagaban mucho dinero, pero no importaba que no fuera negocio el espectáculo, porque la gente que iba a ver a Frank Sinatra dejaba mucho dinero en el casino, pero que hoy en día ha cambiado por completo.
Gracias,
Thanks.
chicos.
Thanks, Lance.
Thank you.
So now from Cuernavaca, we have a good magician. His name is Primo Blaschank. I don't know if he's there. Okay, yes.
I'm here. Lance, once again, I salute you. And you know, there are so many things that have changed in Las Vegas. As I was telling you at the beginning of our conversation, there were great magicians during those times. But now everything has changed. There are a lot of acts from mentalism to close-up magic. I cannot imagine how a show by Shin Lim, for example, is going to be like. I cannot imagine that. Do you think that shows that they have now is these shows are being done to make more money for the casinos, because it is not the same production?
Yeah, well, you know, there are still, well, not right now. All the shows are closed right now, but there are still some great magic shows here in Las Vegas. Now, I know Shim Lim, and I saw him a few months ago. We actually did a private event together, and I haven't seen his show. But the word of mouth is very, very good. The people that I've talked to that have gone to see him were very impressed. So he has figured out a way to do close-up magic in a 1,000-seat theater, which is a very smart thing to be able to do, because that means, again, the running costs for your show are going to be very low, and if you can entertain 1,000 people, you know, more power to you.
Okay.
And now there are some other shows. If you come back to Las Vegas, we still have Matt King is still doing great over at Harris in the afternoon. If you haven't seen Matt King, again, he is the smartest guy in show business. He has a one-man show, and he does an hour and 15 minutes, and everything he does is original and is funny, and it's all sleight of hand based, and it's just extraordinary magic. I just saw Matt Franco for the first time. He's been here 4 years now, and you know, when he started, he was the new kid in town. But when I saw him just a few months ago, just last year, and he has become a real you know, established pro. He's a veteran performer now, and it's very good, very entertaining show. And again, he's figured out how to take kind of a parlor type magic, sleight of hand magic, and make it play in a big theater. And he's got a couple of illusions too. And then the third one that I saw recently, just about a year ago, Chris Angel's new show is absolutely unbelievable. He has taken over the theater there at Planet Hollywood, and has the amount of things that they've put into that theater is unbelievable. It's kind of an immersive experience. There's screens on stage where they can project images, and then the screens come out over your head and all the way on the sides in the theater, so you feel like you're sitting inside of this giant video game. And the magic that he's doing is very, very strong. In fact, I gave him permission to do my sword fight, and he worked on it. He rehearsed it for about a year, really hard work, and to get it down. And he's doing my sword fight in his show, and it looks fantastic. And I was very proud when I saw it, and it gets one of the biggest reactions in the show. So even though I'm not appearing in Las Vegas, my sword guy still is working.
Well, but so they make more money. I mean,
yeah,
so
all those
acts are very inexpensive, let's say, in terms of production. That helped these guys?
Not all of them. I mean, Chris's show is very expensive. He's got a large cast and a large crew. Matt King is not a big cast. Mac and Matt Franco are smaller, but everyone's tried to find a way to present their magic and present it in a different way. And all those shows are doing very well. They're all selling out, and they're all representing magic in a very, very good way. But I know what you're saying about, you know, back in the 1980s, yes, we had Siegfried and Roy in town, and, you know, tragically, we just lost Roy to the coronavirus last month. And that was very, very sad. And you know, my heart goes out to Siegfried, and I saw them just last summer at Siegfried's 80th birthday party. And so Siegfried actually turns 81 this month, and we wish him well. And he's I think enjoying retirement, but you know, that had to be I know it had to be very traumatic losing Roy. They worked together for practically all their lives.
That is true. Bien.
Gracias.
Thank you very much, Lance.
Básicamente la pregunta fue si ahora hacen más dinero o cómo funciona el dinero ahora en los shows en Las Vegas, si generan mucho dinero, y Lance dice que sí, que aunque hay producciones muy grandes como la de Chris Angel, donde usa pantallas gigantes y hace creer al público que estamos como en un videojuego, o Shin Lim, que lleva a hacer magia de close-up a grandes escenarios, pues Mac King tiene un espectáculo de 1 hora 15 minutos donde lleva el Parlor Magic, la magia de salón, al escenario, y que ocupa poca producción, o Matt Franco, que también ocupa poca producción, pero que crean un gran show, y que todavía hay grandes shows en Las Vegas. Ok, gracias, primo. Okay, so now our president of this magic club is my mom, Magician Talis.
Hello.
Hello.
Why did you decide to leave the big stages?
Oh, let me turn this up a little bit. Can you repeat that?
Why did you decide to leave the big stages?
Oh, in Las Vegas?
Yes.
Yeah, you know, when I was a kid, I was about 12 years old. I saw a television show. It was called Merv Griffin Show. It was a talk show, and it was from Los Angeles. But once a year, Merv Griffin would come to Las Vegas, and he would do a whole week's worth of shows in Las Vegas. So I remember when I was a kid, I saw some of his shows from Las Vegas, and they had Siegfried and Roy on the show, and they had the great Tom Sony on the show, and they had a magician named Ricardo, who did an act with candles, and they had other I'm sure it was other magicians also, but those are the three that I really remembered, and they were performing in Las Vegas, and so when somehow I got it into my mind that Las Vegas was the place to go. I didn't know where Las Vegas was. I didn't know where it was located. I didn't know anything about gambling or resorts, but I knew when I was a kid, I knew there was a city called Las Vegas, and that's where the professional magicians lived. So I always wanted to move here. And then when I moved out to Los Angeles, I was talking to Johnny Thompson, and he said, you know, you ought to try to get into a review show in Las Vegas. I bet your act would be real good there. And so when the offer came in to go to Las Vegas, you know, I just said yes. And it was a childhood dream to get to come here and perform. So I always had this thing in my mind about Las Vegas since I was a kid. So I feel lucky that I actually made it here.
Thank you. Ok, nos está diciendo que él había un show de Merv Griffin. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Merv Griffin.
Merv Griffin, que se grababa en Las Vegas y había un mago como Tom Sony, como Ricardo y Siegfried and Roy, y que no sabía dónde estaba Las Vegas, pero sabía que los magos profesionales vivían ahí y su mente siempre fue vivir ahí. And now a question is, why you stop your show at Las Vegas? Why you decide to stop the big shows?
I did it as long as I could. I was as you get older, your priorities change, and I was just exhausted. I was just tired, and I just turned 50 years old, and I was just kind of worn out. So I wanted to stop before I went crazy. So I retired from doing the show, and then I didn't do any shows for about 7 years. And but I took the time, and I shot my movie, Billy Toppet, which you can see the poster there behind me.
Yeah.
And we shot that, and that was fun because that was something creative and something involving magic, and I could learn a new skill, and then anyway, once that was done, then I did a couple of shows, and I enjoyed myself, and so now when I go out and do shows, I'm enjoying myself, but I don't have to do it every single night. I can do it when I want to,
or twice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I still don't like doing 2 shows a night. I prefer 1 show.
Nice. Nos dice que bueno, terminó de los shows porque después de cuando te cumplió 50 años de vida, pues ya se sentía cansado y antes de volverse loco decidió terminar los shows y pues ha hecho otras cosas divertidas como su película. And that's a very good, well, it's nice that Billy Toppet is now on the theme because Alex Hinojosa wants to ask you something about your movie Billy Toppet.
Sure.
Hey, Lance.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So my question was, what made you want to start, I guess, directing Billy Toppet, and what was the experience like being behind the camera and being the lead actor?
Well, it was a fun experience. When I was a kid, they had a television series on around 1973 called The Magician, and it starred Bill Bixby. And it only lasted one season. It was like 24 episodes, but I loved that show when I was a kid, and the lead character was a magician. And the magic advisor on that show was Mark Wilson, the famous magician. And then when I moved out to Las Vegas, I got cast in an episode of Knight Rider with David Hasselhoff. And when I showed up to shoot that, guess who was there on the set? Mark Wilson. He provided all of the illusions, the big props for that episode. And Mark and I got to talking, and he knew that I loved the Bill Bixby series. And one day, Mark Wilson said to me, Lance, are you enjoying this work? And I said, yeah, I'm having a great time, Mark. And he says, well, you're doing a good job. You should think about doing more of this. And I said, what do you talk about, doing more of this? He says, well, you should start making some notes, writing some ideas down about doing, a series or a movie or something like we did with the Bill Bixby series. So that was like, oh, that's a good idea. So it was actually Mark Wilson planted the idea in my mind. And then, 20 years later, this movie popped out. So everything I do goes back to my childhood, I think.
Ok, gracias. Bueno, dice que él veía una serie de televisión de niño donde Mark Wilson era el asesor, y después trabajando con Mark Wilson se lo encontró asesorando a otra serie y le dijo, oye, pues tú deberías hacer algo así porque esto es muy divertido. Y básicamente pues en ese momento empezó a ir más bien fue a su casa y comenzó a escribir algunas notas para que surgiera la idea de la película. ¿Sí? Okay.
Yeah, one more thing about directing. I found directing to be very familiar because, all my life I've been directing my own show. Now, the hard part is directing a scene and acting at the same time. And I actually enjoyed directing the scenes that I wasn't in. I enjoyed those more because then I could focus everything just in watching the scene and directing. And but there's another way to look at that. I recently listened to an interview with Barbara Streisand, and someone asked her the same question. They said, Barbara, is it difficult to act and direct at the same time? Isn't that hard? And she said, no, it's much easier. If I'm acting and directing, that's one less person I have to argue with.
Ok, dice que dirigir pues le gustó mucho, sin embargo le gustaba más dirigir las escenas donde él no actuaba porque podía enfocarse más en la cámara y en lo que iban a ver la gente, pero que le hicieron la misma pregunta a Barbara Streisand y que decía que no, que era más fácil dirigir y actuar al mismo tiempo. Sí, porque no tienes que discusiones con otras personas. Ok, pues muchas gracias, Alex. Thank you. So now we are about to finish. We have from León, Mago Jaismar, Magician Jaismar, who wants to ask you some question. A tu micrófono, Jais, por fin.
Hi, Lance.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
My question is, could you give us 6 tips to get to the place that you arrive?
Yes. Tip number 1.
Okay.
Go out and do 100 shows for strangers. Tip number 2. Do another 100 shows for strangers. Do another 100, another 100, another 100, another 100. and that's really the secret. And I'll tell you one thing. I have met and talked to practically every great magician that's worked in the world in the last 30 or 40 years. And I always ask them the same thing. How did you get your act perfected? And Jeff McBride, Matt King, Johnny Thompson, everyone I've talked to, they all had the same story, only the circumstances were different. They found a little place, Jeff McBride found this little club out in New York called Club Ibis. And he would go there and he would do 2 or 3 shows. What's that?
No. Marcha, tienes tu micrófono prendido, por favor apágalo. Sorry, continue, please.
Oh, yeah. So Jeff would go to this place called Club Ibis, and he would do 2 or 3 shows a night, and he did that for years. And he racked up hundreds and hundreds of shows, and his friends, his magician friends, would all say to him, "Why are you working at this little club? They're paying you, $25 a show." And he said, "Why are you doing that? Why? I get $50 a show when I go out and do shows." And Jeff always says, and you know what? They're still getting $50 a show. But Jeff put in the time, and that's how he developed the act, and that's what I did, and that's what Matt King did, and that's what Johnny Thompson did. And it's really all there is to it. You just go out and do it over and over again, listen to the audience. And nowadays you got it made. Everybody's got a camera. You nowadays you stick that camera on a little tripod, hit record, and record your show. Then you go back and look at it afterwards, and that's how you can really make improvements, is by studying your work every day, every show in front of an audience. So, and by the way, that's what I did every night at the Monte Carlo Hotel. We recorded the shows, and when I walked off stage, my stage manager would hand me a VHS or a DVD later on, and I would go home and I would put it in the machine, and as I was eating my dinner, I would watch the show and I would make notes how to improve it for the next night.
Wow.
Okay, thank you.
Básicamente nos dijo que la pregunta fue 6 tips para llegar al lugar para estar en el lugar al que ha llegado. Y entonces nos dijo: tip número 1, hacer 100 shows diferentes para extraños. Tip número 2, hacer 100 shows diferentes para extraños, y así 6 veces. Porque dice que todos los magos grandes como Jeff McBride, Matt King, todos sus amigos, pues hacían lo mismo. Ellos trabajaban mucho. A veces perdían en el show, o a veces ellos pagaban por trabajar. Y era muy importante escuchar al público, presentarse para extraños, y que hoy en día todos tienen una cámara, entonces que hoy te puedes grabar. Antes era muy difícil porque él se grababa en un VHS, y cuando iba, en el Hotel Monte Carlo incluso se grababa, iba a hacer notas durante su comida, hacía notas y mejoraba su show. Ok, gracias. Gracias. Me salté a Guapetín, entonces vamos con Guapetín. So now, from a beautiful place in Mexico that is called Oaxaca, we have a magician who also makes a very good convention. It's a really funny convention because it's very Mexican. We have a kind of traditional Mexican parade, and it's very funny. So his name is Guapetín.
Hello.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Saludos, Lance Burton.
He says hello. Ok, venga, Guape.
Mi pregunta es si nos puedes compartir algún tips o cómo entrenar, alguna técnica para entrenar las palomas.
Okay, he is asking if you can share us, only if you can share us, how you trained or some tips to train the doves.
Yes. Well, again, when you start out and you're only doing maybe 1 show a month, your doves are wild because you don't handle them every day. But what you find out is when you're doing 2-3 shows a day, or you're rehearsing your act 2 or 3 shows a day, after a couple of weeks, the doves start to get used to what they're doing. So they get used to it, and so they're much calmer. And I always use, so I handled the doves a lot. you know, exercise the dove and rehearse the act. Always make sure that the animals are safe and they're not afraid. And also I found food that they liked. I found little unsalted sesame seeds, and I would give them for treats. And also, another thing I did was I would have a bowl, and I'd put their food on it, and I'd let them out of the cage, and they would fly over to me, and they would land and they would eat. So I'd hold the bowl in my hand and let the birds eat, and then I could take the bird and I would toss him away, and then he'd turn and he'd fly back because he wanted the food. So the two things that birds are into is, you know, of course, feeding time, their food, but number two, remember they're social animals. So birds like to be with the other birds. So that's sort of the regimen I would use when I get a new bird. I would start by hand feeding them, and then tossing them away, and they'd come back. And pretty soon they just sort of accept me as their their daddy, I guess. And I'm the guy that feeds them, and so they're not afraid of me. And so the main thing is, I think you want to establish a relationship with the animal.
Okay, thank you very much. I will translate so fast. Ok, dice que, bueno, que como dijo antes, un show no está bien, que es mejor tener varios shows porque ese es el principal tip para entrenar a tus palomas, que tu acto lo presentes 2 o 3 veces diario. Y pues que él tomaba durante mucho tiempo a las palomas para que vieran que están a salvo y que no se espantaran. Él encontró que la comida que más le gustaba era el ajonjolí. You said sesame seeds, right?
Yeah, that's what I
okay.
found. Mine like little sesame seeds with unshelled and unsalted.
Ok, entonces es el ajonjolí, y las tomaba en un bowl y hacía que llegaran a su mano las palomas. Entonces, si un tip número 1 es que tengan un tiempo para comer, que cada cierto tiempo sepan que es la hora de comer de su mano, y el tip número 2 es recordar que son animales sociales, entonces que estén con otras palomas y que estén a salvo, y obviamente que tú los cuides, les des amor. Y entonces de esa manera ellos ya lo aceptaban como si fuera su papá.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And,
Okay.
And the other thing I found the birds like was cheese.
Oh, what kind of cheese?
Sometimes I would take a little slice, you know, one of those little Kraft individual slices of cheese,
Okay.
and I just cut it up into tiny little squares, and I give the birds that sometimes. They like cheese.
Wow, what a tip. So, nos está revelando un gran tip, que es que encontró que le gustaba mucho el queso amarillo y que les daba un cuadrito de queso amarillo y eso les gustaba mucho. Wow.
Okay.
I've never think doves would like cheese.
Yeah. I read it in a book, one of the dove books, and I thought, oh, I'll try that, and I chopped it up, and they really do. They love it. Once they eat a couple, they're like, they go crazy. So you can't give them too much, I don't think, you know. But it's like a treat for them. It's like dessert.
Okay, que como un postre sí les gusta mucho. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Gracias,
Bueno,
guapo.
aquí en Oaxaca hay mucho queso.
Well, in Oaxaca there's a lot of cheese, and it's a very good cheese. You should come.
Gracias, thank you.
Gracias.
Okay, so now we have a female magician, Marsha, from Puebla. It's a beautiful place here in Mexico. So Marsha, okay, ahí viene.
Hola, Marcia. How are you?
Hi, Lance. My question is, what is your opinion of the female figure in the magic today?
What is, say that again?
What is your opinion of the female magician figure?
Oh, yes. There are a number of terrific magicians that are female. There's Jen Kramer is working here in town down at the Westgate Hotel. She's been doing really great. And there's the girl from up in Canada, Carissa, that I haven't seen her. I met her last year, but I haven't seen her act yet. But everybody's been raving about her, saying how funny she is and how terrific her magic is. over the years, I've seen a number of really terrific female magicians. In Japan, they have a number of female magicians. So, you know, I think the thing about magic is it doesn't really matter if you're a man or a woman or tall or short or what country you're from. I think people love magic. People react to magic the same all over the world. So I like to encourage all people, everybody, to get involved in magic. As some of you may know, I am the international ambassador for the IBM, International Brotherhood of Magicians. And I have been doing several of these sort of Zoom meetings with some of the youth groups these past few months. And what I have noticed is I am seeing many more young girls interested in magic than there were, say, 30, 40 years ago. And I'm also the sponsor of the teen program for the International Brotherhood of Magicians. And we are doing we're doing our seminar online this year because the convention's been canceled. So it's in July. So it's open to any young magician age 13 to 19. That's going to be July 7th and 8th. And you can register. If you know a young magician, please send them to register at the IBM website. I think it's magician.org. And what I've noticed on our program, we have probably about 1/3 of our young magicians are female magicians. So this is quite a big progress from when I was their age. When I was a kid and when I was a teenager and I would go and enter a contest at a magic convention, you might have 30 kids competing. And sometimes there were no female magicians. It was all boys. And if you had a female magician, it might be 1 out of 30. Well, now it's about, you know, it's 10 or 15 out of 30. So my prediction is in a few short years, you're going to see a whole new wave of magicians popping up, and they're going to be female. And in fact, one of our students, Jessica Jane Peterson, she has recently appeared on several television shows, and she's been working on cruise ships, and she's got an amazing career starting. And she's very young. She's still in her 20s, I think. So, yes, I encourage all magicians, and we especially encourage young ladies to get involved in magic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So, entonces él nos dice que hay muchas grandes magas. La pregunta fue ¿qué opina de la figura de la
Femenina
figura
en la
femenina
magia.
en la magia? Gracias, Marcia. Y dice que hay muchas mujeres magas como ¿cómo? Okay, como la maga Jean Kramer, que está en Las Vegas. En Japón hay muchas buenas magas. Y dice que no importa si eres alto, mujer, chaparro, pues todos. Él le gusta animar a todos los tipos de personas que les guste la magia. Él ha sido parte fundamental de promover la magia a los jóvenes. En la IBM, él tiene su programa para adolescentes desde los 3 hasta los 19 años y ahora va a ser en línea. Entonces, si se pueden registrar en magician.org, pues pueden, y si conocen a un chico o chica que tenga menos de 19 años, va a estar Lance dando algunas clases junto con otros grandes magos. A mí me tocó cuando estaba todavía Eugene Burger, estuvo muy padre. Está Oscar Muñoz. Hay muchísimas mujeres magas cada vez. 1/3 de las mujeres del grupo de adolescentes pues ya son magas. Y
Magas,
pues
ujú.
que cree que vamos a tener una muy buena generación de mujeres magas próximamente.
Así es, lo importante también es que, toda la gente que nos está viendo, que si a ustedes les gusta la magia, es importante saber que no hay límites para eso y bueno, pues continuar, y ese tipo de charlas nos ayudan mucho a que sigamos todos aprendiendo.
Okay, gracias, Marsha. Well, she says that that it's important that we know that there are no limits. So thank you for this talk because you encourage us.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So we are missing two more questions. One is Brandy. Brandy, it's also a female magician from Guadalajara, but she lives in Mexico City.
Brandy, how are you?
Hello, Lance. How are you?
Good.
My question for you is: we are living in this time in a new age. What is your advice for the magicians who present his shows, not more or not only in the restaurants or theater or streets? The new scenario is here in your house, back of your computer through a screen. What is your advice? What is your opinion about all this?
Yeah, this has always been the question throughout the history of magic. Before Robert Houdin, the magicians were working on the streets, and they were buskers. They would travel around, and they would, it would start raining, and it would ruin their show, and they were going, if only we could get indoors, and finally Robert Houdin opened his own Salon de Magic in Paris, and then other magicians came along and started doing shows in theaters, and so and then television came along and radio. So there's always new mediums, and then Las Vegas came along and nightclubs. So the magicians that were working in the theaters were thinking, how are we going to work in a nightclub? Because now the audience isn't in front of me. The audience is, all the way around me practically.
Yeah.
How can I do my magic with the audience on the side? But they figured it out. So this has always been the challenge. What is the new place to perform? What are the conditions? How can I tailor my magic to work in these conditions? And this is the same. Now we're working through the computer. And I've seen guys doing these shows for birthday parties, for Zoom parties, for kids and for adults. So I've seen people that are coming up with creative things. So yes, you're exactly right. This is the new challenge for our time. Now, we hope eventually, the live performance will come back and we'll be able to do the sponge balls with people. But in the meantime, you're absolutely right. This is what you should be thinking of, and this is the medium that you should be working on. But the other good thing about it is if you can do your magic through the screen on a Zoom platform, remember, if you keep your segments short, you can use that same material on television. So if you go do a talk show, you can do a trick for the host, or you can do a trick for the people at home. So this is what I always try to think of. If I can find a trick that will work for me in many different platforms, then I'm happy. If I can find a trick that I can do in my live show, that I can do in a theater for 1,000, 2,000 people, and it works, perfect. And if I can take that same trick and I can take it into a TV studio and I can do it in a talk show, sitting at a desk with a host, great. If I can take that same trick now and do it in a Zoom, perfect. So try to think on that on different levels. Okay. Where else can I use this trick? But I think you're on the right track. That's what you should be thinking about.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ok, pues básicamente nos dice que si es bueno o malo. La pregunta más o menos es si es bueno. ¿Cuál fue tu pregunta, Brandy? ¿Qué opina de la magia digital?
No, que ahorita estamos viviendo una nueva era, independientemente de la pandemia. Nuestro nuevo escenario ya no es solamente, o vamos a agregar, además de trabajar en restaurantes, en teatros o en la calle, tenemos un nuevo escenario que es nuestra casa, atrás de la computadora, a través de la pantalla.
Ah, ok, perfecto. Y él nos contesta que esa ha sido la pregunta de toda la historia, porque Robert Houdin, antes de Robert Houdin todos los magos estábamos en las calles y si llovía pues se les arruinaba el show, ¿no? Y hoy pues se nos está arruinando el show con esta pandemia, y qué bueno que estamos pensando en estas nuevas plataformas, porque siempre es bueno pensar cuál es el nuevo lugar para presentarse como mago. Y está muy bien que hagan las fiestas por Zoom, han salido cosas muy creativas y que además estamos seguros que vamos a regresar para estar en nuestro espacio nuevamente físicamente haciendo las bolitas de esponja, y que es bueno pensar todo este contexto, porque si mantenemos nuestros actos de Zoom cortos podemos tener próximamente un nuevo segmento o una nueva rutina para presentar en televisión, y además pensarla si la vamos a presentar sobre una mesa o de pie, o si con interacción de algún conductor. y que es increíble. Creo que básicamente eso, ¿no, Brandy?
Sí, perfecto.
Muy bien, pues
Gracias,
muchas gracias.
thank
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 you.
you.
And now a good person that helps us to all the backstage of the Magic Club in Mexico, it's John Lee. John Lee, una persona que nos ayuda siempre en el backstage. A lo mejor muchos no lo ven, pero siempre nos ayuda incansablemente en el escenario. Es John Lee. John Lee, ¿estás por ahí? Tu video, por favor, tu audio.
¿Ya estamos?
Sí. Pon tu video y ya, John. Gracias. Ahí estás.
Hola, hola. Hola.
Hello.
Hola, mi nombre es Mao John Lee. ¿Sí? Ok, mi pregunta es, ¿cree usted es útil para un mago hacer uso de un efecto de magia con la tecnología que hoy en día existe y aprovecharlo al máximo? ¿O un mago se crea presentando sus habilidades de prestidigitación y efectos de ilusionismo? Obviamente con todo lo que conlleva el arte del artista, sino como imagen, presentación escénica, etcétera. ¿Qué puede decirme en caso a eso?
Okay, the question is, do you think that it's useful for a magician to use a magic effect with technology that exists today and make our magic with technology, the trick, I mean, or a magician is the one who is by his skill or conjuring or illusionism or the artist is that person, or what do you think about it? Because the question is very big. What do you think about magic with technology? Yeah.
Yeah, I think magicians have always tried to take advantage of technology. And I think, again, Robert Houdin, the light and heavy chest. People back then didn't know what an electromagnet was. So the audience he was performing for over in Algeria to put down a rebellion, that was amazing, because they never heard of electricity or electromagnets. So he took advantage of the technology. Nowadays, I've seen my buddy John. I can't remember his last name. He put out an app for your phone called The Stranger, where you can do the wizard trick, but it's really amazing. And I bought it. I haven't performed it yet, but I bought it. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with using technology to your advantage and using a trick with an iPhone. That's become ubiquitous in our society. Everyone has one. Now, me personally, I like to keep my magic as low tech as possible. I like if I can use a couple of rubber bands. I prefer using rubber bands, because I can see when they're about to break, and I can have 3 or 4 of them, and if one breaks, I can then replace it. So yeah, I as a general rule, I try to keep my magic as low tech as possible. But you use what's available to you.
Thank you. Bueno, él nos está diciendo que no tiene nada en contra de la tecnología, porque Robert Houdin también aprovechó para hacer el electroimán para la caja ligera y pesada, y pues que ahora vio a un chico que no recuerda bien su nombre, pero era John algo, que hizo una app que se llama The Stranger y que está increíble porque usa su celular, y dice que no hay nada mal en usar tecnología, pero que él trata que su espectáculo use los menos recursos de tecnología posible, porque él prefiere siempre usar a lo mejor para el secreto alguna liga y que la tecnología, y entonces él puede ver en qué momento se va a romper la liga. En cambio la tecnología pues no sabemos si va a fallar o no. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, and Jonathan Levitt, that's the guy. Thank you, sir.
Yes, gracias.
Gracias.
Jonathan
Jonathan Levitt is the guy that came up with this app called The Stranger, and it's a very good. It's a trick where you have someone pick a card or think of a card, and then you take out your cell phone and you ask someone for numbers, and you dial the phone, whatever numbers they say, and you hit send, and you put it on speakerphone, and then so it's a random phone number, and the person answers, and tells you what the card is. It's a very clever. It's very clever trick.
Wow.
Yeah.
It seems like Billy Toppit also.
Yeah,
trick.
exactly. yeah. But instead of just having a Confederate, it's actually using the technology of the phone.
Yeah.
The trick.
Ok, dice que esa app se trata de marcar cualquier, das a escoger una carta, el público marca a cualquier número y esa persona te contesta revelándote la carta. Y le digo que es un poco como lo que hace en su película porque hay una escena donde tiene un ayudante secreto que hace ese mismo truco, solo que ahora con la tecnología. Well, Lance, but I don't know if you have some more time. We have some questions in the chat. Do you have time? Do you want to leave?
Sure.
What do you,
Sure.
okay.
We got some questions in the chat room.
Okay, we have some questions.
Hi, Lance. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Hi.
So we have a quick question for you from YouTube. So the first one is, what do you think about? Pepe asked, what do you think about kids magic?
About what?
Kids magic.
Oh, kids magic?
Yeah.
Doing magic for kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, that is one of the hardest forms of magic to do. And when I was 12 years old, I started performing at children's birthday parties. That's kind of your entry-level job when you're a young magician. And that's my first 30 or 40 or 50 shows were birthday parties. So that kids are harder to entertain than adults. And I have to admit, I was never really good at doing kids shows. I always felt more comfortable with adult shows. And for me, the best audience is a mixture, is maybe 90% adults, 10% kids. That's my audience.
Okay, thank you. Está diciendo que la magia para niños es muy difícil, que incluso él cree que nunca fue muy bueno haciendo magia para niños, le gusta más hacer magia para adultos y cree que para él el mejor público es cuando tienen 90% adultos y 10% niños.
Okay, so the next question is from Daniel Castañeda. Do you have a philosophical way to, from magic? To see magic?
A philosophical way to look at magic? The first time I saw a magician, I was 5 years old, and the magician pulled a silver dollar out from behind my ear. And I was so amazed and so astonished, I didn't understand that it was a trick. I thought it was real magic. And that was such a powerful moment in my life. I think the rest of my life has just been trying to get back to that moment when I was 5 years old. So I can never quite get there, but I can sort of relive it through the audience when I'm performing now. So that's, to me, when I do my show now, that's my favorite part of the show, is when I do the Miser's Dream, and I get the kid up and I pull the silver dollar out from behind his ear. So kind of goes in a circle.
Okay, thank you. Nos dice algo muy bonito, que cuando tenía 5 años vio a un mago que le sacó una moneda de la oreja y pues que para él fue algo maravilloso. Entonces cada que hace el sueño del avaro pues trata de recrear esa emoción con el público y que sea un círculo.
The next question is, what is important of the people that help you backstage in your performance?
Oh, backstage, yes. Yeah, you want people who are I think motivated and care about the job that they're doing, and I always try to let them know when they're doing a good job. Everyone likes to get a compliment and thank them for their work. I think everybody likes to hear that. Everybody likes to hear thank you, and you're doing a good job. Keep it up.
Thank you. Él dice que, bueno, la pregunta es ¿qué es lo que busca en la gente? ¿Cuál es la importancia de la gente que está detrás del escenario? Y él dice que que quieres tú gente motivada y que le importe su trabajo. Y es muy importante dejarle saber que todos quieren hacer bien su trabajo y que el show va a salir increíble.
The next question is, what do you think about the future of the illusion performance after the coronavirus?
Of illusions.
Yeah, illusion show.
Illusion show.
Illusion show.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll have illusion shows. We'll all be coming back eventually as soon as people are feeling comfortable to go out and go back to a theater. You know, the day they get the vaccine ready, or the day they get the treatment ready. You know, the next day, I think people will be ready to come back.
Ok, él dice que pues que está seguro que van a regresar hasta el momento en que la gente se sienta cómoda de volver a ver un espectáculo en vivo. Rehearse?
The next is, how much time do you rehearse when you start in magic?
Oh, when I was starting out, I would rehearse 3 or 4 hours a day, maybe 5 or 6 when I was getting ready to go for a competition. I did spend a lot of time rehearsing when I was younger. You know, but the thing about it is, once you start performing the show, you don't necessarily have to rehearse, except if you have a problem. If there's something in your show that keeps going wrong, you got to stop and go back and look and say, why is this happening? You know, has something changed with the prop or the costume? Am I doing something different? Then you got to go back and work it out and figure out what's wrong. But under normal circumstances, you're doing your show, you know, you're not rehearsing the things that you're performing. You're rehearsing maybe new things.
Ok, nice. Bueno, él nos comparte que de niño él ensayaba 3 o 4 horas al día, pero ya cuando iba a competir ensayaba 5 o 6, y que cuando estés ya teniendo un show constante, pues no ensayar, recomienda no ensayar, más bien solo ensaya si algo sale mal y preguntarse el por qué sale mal. A lo mejor puede ser algo del vestuario, puede ser algo que esté fallando. Y, ¿qué más dijo para terminar? Algo muy bonito, ya no lo apunté. Y que además ensaye nuevos actos, que les recomienda lo que sí ensayar, nuevos actos para ese show. ¿Ok? Ok, we have here a very well, important magician here at Mexico. His name is Mago Ariel. So I don't know if he can... Mago Ariel, si puede desbloquear su micrófono y su cámara, por favor. He's a very wise magician here in Mexico.
Hi, Lance.
How
I
are
would
you?
like to speak English. I would like to speak English very well, but my English is very poor, and I feel me very crazy every time I make a mistake. Mejor se los voy a decir en español, mire. En la actualidad, yo soy el mago más viejo de México. Los dos más viejos antes que yo murieron unos meses antes. Y yo siempre que he sabido de Lance Burton, desde que lo conocí por YouTube, creo que es uno de los mejores magos del mundo. Y yo quisiera saber si después de esta pandemia que tenemos todo el mundo, le gustaría venir a México a trabajar, aunque no haga su rutina de palomas.
Okay, he's saying that he is the oldest magician in Mexico because the oldest, unfortunately, passed away like 2 months ago.
Oh.
So he now is one of the oldest magician in Mexico, and he is saying that you are one of the best magicians he have ever seen in his entire life, and he just want to ask you if after this coronavirus you want to come to Mexico to share some magic.
Oh, yes. Once we get over this coronavirus, one of these days, we're gonna pack up the whole show. The Lance Burton and Friends. We're all gonna come down there.
Wow.
And perform. So I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, I will cry. Yeah. Ok, Mago Ariel dice que sí, que cuando acabe la pandemia que sí va a traer su gran show de Lance Burton, el que va a presentar a Blackpool, lo quiere traer acá.
Oh, sería una gran cosa.
Yeah, it would be amazing. Yeah. Gracias. ¿Algo más que quiera compartirnos, Mago Ariel?
Pues nada más quiero felicitarlo. Aunque yo solamente lo he visto en YouTube, no he tenido la oportunidad de verlo trabajar personalmente allá en Las Vegas, bueno, donde trabaje. Pero siempre me ha gustado mucho y sus videos son sensacionales. Son para vivirlos para toda la vida.
Okay, he thanked you so much because he has never seen your show or your act or meet you, but he knows you because YouTube videos, so he loves your magic.
Oh, thank you very much. Very kind of you. And we hope you visit Las Vegas one day and you get to come out here and see all the shows here. And they have this new thing in Las Vegas. It's called gambling. It's going to catch on real big, I think.
Ok, dice Mago Ariel que está cordialmente invitado a Las Vegas cuando quiera y que hay algo muy nuevo en Las Vegas que se llama apostar y que le va a encantar.
Pues sería muy bueno ir a Las Vegas. Si para entonces vivo, ¿no? Porque
sí va a vivir, Mago, sí va a vivir.
Ya me están ganando ahora algunos que se van y creo que yo soy el que sigo.
¿Cuántos años tiene Mago Ariel para decirle a Lance?
87. 87.
He says that he would like to go to Las Vegas. He's 87 years. And if he lives, if he says that if he still be alive, he would like to go.
Very good. Bravo.
Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you.
Bueno,
Gracias.
si quieren conectar sus cámaras todos, a ver si nos vemos todos, por favor. Well, Lance, so it was a pleasure. I really want to cry when you say that you want to bring the show, because when I was really young, I always wanted to see your show. This is the program of when my uncle go to see your show. I never see it. I never, but it is signed to Javi. It's for me.
You got the souvenir book. That's even better. It's in the show.
And I have the puzzle.
Oh yeah. Hold on.
The day that my brother found.
I wish I could make this screen bigger. Oh yeah. Oh, you got the poster there. The levitation poster.
It's the puzzle. Yeah.
Oh, the puzzle.
It's a puzzle. The Marcelo's Contento puzzle.
That's the jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Very nice.
So, well, even my family, they are magicians. You are an inspiration for many magicians around Mexico and around the world. Your specials were live on Mexican TV, like on the 90s. We saw you on the 90s on the Mexican TV. So, thank you very much for accept this talk.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much, and I thank you all for stopping by and chatting and your questions. And let's hope everybody stays safe and stay inside and wear your mask when you go out. And when this coronavirus is over, I look forward to being able to meet you all in person.
Yeah, for sure. Dice que muchas gracias y que estará muy emocionado de conocernos pronto en persona, que nos mantengamos a salvo y usemos nuestras mascarillas. ¿Hay algo más que quieran decir alguno de los que tenemos aquí en Zoom que quiera abrir su micrófono ordenadamente?
Thank you very much for all.
Thank
you.
you.
It was a really pleasure to know in these conditions.
My
Thank you, because you are giving us a lot of inspiration.
Oh, bless you. Thank you all so much.
Guape.
Thank you for sharing all your experiences. We're so great. We learned so much from you. Thank you.
My pleasure. And again, if you know some young magicians, send them over to sign up for our Young Magician Seminar.
Yeah.
Which will take place in July. It's free of charge too.
Okay. We're gonna publish on our Facebook the link of IBM.
Fantastic.
Thank
you all.
I was at the
sir.
IBM the year you weren't at the IBM.
Oh, what year was that?
It was on Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh yeah, I didn't make it to Jacksonville. Yeah, I've been to every other one for the past few years. But I didn't make it to Jacksonville for some reason.
Guapetín quiere decir algo. Guapetín, something?
Sí, que está cordialmente invitado a nuestro segundo congreso en Oaxaca, México, el próximo año, primero Dios, y sería todo un honor para nosotros tenerlo aquí en México.
Okay, he's inviting you to the Magic Congress at Oaxaca the next year.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you.
It will be a
Gracias.
honor.
Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Despide, Javi, despide la transmisión.
Sí, claro. Bueno, pues algo que quiere decir la presidenta. Tu micro. Ah, ok.
Solamente que fue un honor tenerlo aquí en esta plática, aquí en México. La verdad no pensábamos que usted fuera a decir sí a esta plática. Muchos creen que personas como usted son inalcanzables.
Okay, she says that thank you very much. It was a really honor for being you here, and we never thought that you will accept, but thank you.
Well, the honor is mine. It's a pleasure to meet you all, and God bless you all, and stay safe till we meet again. Thank you.
Aprendimos hoy mucho.
Thank you, everybody.
We learned a lot.
Oh,
Y muchas gracias a todos los que estuvieron con nosotros representando a los estados de la República Mexicana.
And thank you very much to all the other members from all different parts of Mexico.
Gracias a todos.
Gracias también al Club de Magos por hacer todo esto posible y por meternos un poquito más de magia a todos los rincones. Muchas gracias, Club de Magos.
Gracias.
Gracias, Club de Magos.
gracias.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
Adiós. Adiós, amigos.
Take care.
Adiós.
Adiós, Lance.
Nos vemos, Lance.
Bye.
Viva México.
Abrazo a todos.
Un abrazo a todos.
Cuídense mucho todos. Cuídense.
Adiós.
Thank you.
Ok, bueno, pues ya terminamos. A todos los que están en YouTube, en Facebook, pues les pedimos disculpas por los inconvenientes al conectarnos, pero bueno, creo que estuvo fantástico. No sé qué opinan los demás.
Sí, pues fenomenal.
Oh, genial.
Fenomenal.
Yo
Javi.
vi algunos comentarios que estaban en un link equivocado en YouTube
Sí.
y todo, pero creo que al final se resolvió.
Sí, tuvimos muchos problemas para conectarnos, sí les pedimos una gran disculpa, pero bueno, estamos haciendo lo mejor que se puede y pues nos despedimos aquí para todos los que están en vivo, nos despedimos, gracias Magatalis, en tu micro para que se
Gracias por todo.
Abrazo a todos.
Nuevamente
Nos vemos,
gracias a
vernos.
todos
Gracias
por
de
su
verdad.
Hasta
participación.
luego.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias
a
de
todos.
verdad por el esfuerzo del Club de Magos AC y pues esto es una forma de unirnos todos los magos en México. Muchas gracias de todo corazón.
Gracias. Y hoy quise que Javier estuviera dirigiendo esto porque fue una iniciativa de él. Ha sido un sueño para él desde chico conocer a Lance Burton. Y al ver que muchas personas estaban invitando a otras personas a dar pláticas, en una noche estuvimos diciendo, bueno, ¿y por qué no decirles a los grandes que por qué no aceptan una invitación? Y rápidamente esa misma noche escribió y con grata sorpresa cuando nos dijo que sí, este niño estaba que no se la podía creer. Después
Yo
de
no
que
me la creo todavía.
él todavía no se la cree, después de que lo ha admirado desde, aunque ustedes no lo crean, desde chiquito. Él no veía caricaturas por estar viendo a Lance Burton.
Bueno, ya basta de hablar de mí, solo gracias a ustedes.
Muchas felicidades, Javi.
Gracias a todos
Gracias,
ustedes
amigos.
por estar aquí.
Dale, Javi.
A ustedes, un abrazo.
No, gracias a ustedes porque...
Gracias por compartir
Gracias a la
este día
familia
tan bonito para
Rendón.
nosotros.
Porque no queríamos, o sea, creemos que el Club de Magos es Club de Magos y no tiene nombre de Club de Talís o Club de Javi o Club de la Familia, porque pues el Club de Magos somos todos y pues queremos incluir a los magos de México, hacer algo por la magia de México y gracias a ustedes que de una u otra manera son representantes de los diferentes lugares de México.
Gracias a Joy y Moy que
No,
tienen
qué
un show
hermoso.
ahorita y nos dedican tiempo, a Frank
Sí,
que
gracias.
también ya corriendo a su show, a
preparar.
Guapetín, a Juan Carlos Rodarte que está trabajando y nos dedica a la hora de la comida, a John Lee, a Primo, a Yais,
Marcha.
a Marcha, a Brandy, a
Ariel,
Ariel,
el mago Ariel.
al mago Ariel por su tiempo, muchas gracias en verdad por todos ustedes por su tiempo.
Y a todo...
¿Faltó algún nombre?
A los de Monterrey también, a
Jorge,
Alejandro, y
Alejandro.
a Jorge, muchas gracias. Tengan buenas
Gracias a
tardes.
Gracias a ustedes.
Gracias.
Gracias a los que nos ven.
Ustedes.
Queremos mucho. Cuídense.
Gracias.
Bye.
Bye.
We love you. Bye.
Bye, bye.